Well, hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Wild Your Garden. And in this video, I'm revisiting a wildlife pond that I created almost 3 years ago in July 2021, and I can't believe how much it's come on. And today I'm just going to be looking briefly at what's turned up in terms of the wildlife, and I've got someone to help me with that. Who better than the owner of this great wildlife pond? But I'm also going to be just explaining a little bit about what's developed and how it's looking. So if I pan round to my right, you can see it really is looking absolutely natural. Now, the pond, when it was dug, the soil was some of the worst soil I've ever worked with. It was bloody awful. It was like a grey, silty clay, and it was awful. I actually left thinking, is the customer going to pay me to leave it like that? No, it was lovely when it was finished, but I just was thinking about the plants and how long they would take to fill in. But they are filling in, and as you can see, we've got some fringe water lilies in the middle. They're filling in nicely now. We've got some of this beautiful bog bean, one of my absolute favourite marginal bog loving plants, very aptly named. That's doing very, very well. And we have some of the lesser pond sedge is now creating a nice clump over that far side. That's looking really beautiful and attracting lots of invertebrates around the vegetation. Nice bit of cover in there. And I should say the pond skaters, there's absolutely dozens of them. They are loving this pond. It's really brilliant to see so many of them. They're the little four-legged insects you see flitting around on the top of the water surface. Absolutely fantastic, almost defying gravity. It looks like I don't understand how it works, but it does, and that's because water has a film on the surface, and of course these insects don't weigh a lot at all. What else have we got? We've got lots of greater bird's foot trefoil, almost a bit too much greater bird's foot trefoil, but easily managed. That's doing really well around the margins, obviously the flowers of which provide a fabulous source of nectar for many insects, including my favourite insect, one of my favourite insects, the common blue butterfly, which is obviously a regular visitor to this plant in a lot of situations. We've also got some of the water mint just poking up. It's not quite as invasive as it usually is because of the low fertility of the soil, so really, really good to see that. What else have we got? We've got some tansy across the back. That's coming up nicely. And we've also got over in that corner some lovely water plantain, which is looking absolutely gorgeous. These lovely kind of arrow-shaped leaves that are poking up out of the water, which provides this, or produces this lovely stem, really rigid stem with these horizontal parts of the plant that come out with these little white flowers on, and I absolutely love that plant. I should say at this point, guys, if you're looking to make a wildlife pond, or if you're looking to stock your existing pond with any lilies, oxygenators, marginal plants, you're looking for the fleece, the liner, subsoil, boulders, check out the wildyourgarden.com online shop. We do have a whole host of options for you, and obviously free tailored advice for anybody who wants to make one of these water bodies in their garden. From me personally, I will tell you exactly how many plants to plant and what species to put in your pond when it's built. So yes, I'm not sure there's anywhere else that offers that on the internet to this point. Anyway, I stand to be corrected. So yes, at this point I would like to bring in my good friend Steve, because Steve is the proud owner of this pond. Hello, Steve.
Hello, everyone.
And I dropped in to see Steve today because I really wanted to see how this pond was doing. Steve, how has this pond done in your eyes over the last 3? Well, This is actually only the third full year, and we're not even through that year yet, are we?
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. It's been a real joy to own this pond.
I don't know how much I paid him to say this.
I'm so lucky and proud to have such great wildlife habitat in my own garden. I mean, it's just like having a wildlife reserve in my own garden.
Fantastic.
I spend so long every day I look in it.
Yeah.
And as I said to you earlier, Joel, I haven't regretted losing a bit of lawn for 1 nanosecond.
Well, and actually,
every day's a joy.
If we spin this way, you've still got a decent amount of lawn left,
yes,
which is good.
Indeed,
And
it is under discussion though.
Yeah, and Steve's also undertaking a no-mow summer back there as well. So absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen that recent video, check out my no-mow May video, which explains all the concept behind what you should be doing with your longer grassy areas. Anyway, back to the pond, Steve. So I thought, who better to ask than the man himself, who's been observing this pond for the last 3 years.
Rigorously.
Yes, to let everybody out there know just what has benefited and what's turned up in the garden because of it.
Well, I've seen
Let's start with some of the birds, shall we? You
Some
don't
of the
have to
birds.
name all of them, but some of the highlights.
Well, the real highlights have been I've seen grey wagtail on 2 occasions. I've seen.
I think I promised that, didn't I?
You did promise it. In fact, I think one came while you were actually making the pond.
It did, yes.
And then the second one a year later. I've seen grey heron on multiple occasions, looking at the pond, and on a couple of occasions trying to fish in it, maybe trying to take a newt.
Yes, yeah.
Little egret touched down once at the pond.
Wow.
Circled around and touched down.
Wow.
But the real bird's jewel in the crown is I've seen
Wait for it.
kingfisher twice. Once on one of the dragonfly posts.
Is it
And
back there somewhere?
And once last autumn it tried to land on the washing line over there and couldn't quite grab on, and then flew across the pond, but unfortunately didn't land and went across over the back fence. But obviously kingfishers, I think probably young ones that are looking for new places to live, scouting out new places, they've been at least here on at least 2 occasions.
Wow.
to scout it out. So,
Certainly not a bird you would have if you didn't have a wildlife pond in the garden.
absolutely not. No.
Maybe flying over at height, but
No.
chances
Why
are
would
very rare.
why would they stop if there was no water for them? So
Fantastic.
that's just been amazing.
Wow, yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So dragonflies and damselflies. Now you're a bit of an Odonata fan like me, aren't
I
you?
am very much. Yeah.
So
I think
run us through the species.
I think the species list is for Odonata is up to 9.
Nice.
Damselflies, we've got large red, azure, and blue-tailed.
Lovely, yeah.
And on the dragonfly front, broad-bodied chaser, common darter, southern hawker are very regular. Migrant hawker later in the summer, and 2 unusual highlight species: golden ring dragonfly, which breed on the heath within a mile of here. So they found their way to here twice.
Wow.
And a keeled skimmer in the hot summer of 2022. That's another species that's quite common out on the heath, but clearly they can make it over the short distance through the housing estate behind me to the pond. So that's wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've just had to swap sides because my arm was giving up, and I've left my mic on my tripod on the job where I'm working on. So, yeah, Steve, why don't you tell us now just briefly the sort of life that you found within the water that's turned up over the last couple of years?
Okay, well, the main species that I like looking at a lot is palmate newts.
Yeah.
That's another species that's common out on the heaths, and I think must have been always a resident in the gardens of this area. But they've really colonised the pond very vigorously. And the best way to see them is to go out at night with a torch when the newts are in the shallow water, and you can shine the torch on them and they quickly scuttle away into the deep. But that's the best way to get a good view of palmate newt.
And do you think the numbers of palmate newts has been the reason why you haven't had any frog spawn or toad spawn?
Could be.
Because of course they will eat, they will eat the frog spawn.
Yeah, I know quite a lot of people that are very keen on amphibians and reptiles, and they tell me that frogs are often incompatible with large numbers of newts because of the reason you say, Joel, that the newts eat the not only the spawn, but I think also the tadpoles.
They will, in their
So I can easily come out of an evening. In fact, I did so last night and count 30 or 40 newts.
Wow!
Just in 5 minutes, just walking around the edge of the pond.
Yeah.
Apart from that, diving beetles.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Pond skaters.
Yeah, the pond skaters are prolific, aren't they? That's wonderful.
Yeah, loads of pond skaters.
Yeah.
What else? I'm not really expert on many other things that dive around there.
Yeah.
But there's plenty to look at, and
there's always something moving around.
There's always something to look at. It's always a joy, and there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
And another great thing about it is it's not very much work. I mean, all I have to do really is bring my close focus binoculars out, a torch if it's at night, walk around, and that's it. There's no hard work once the pond's established. I think I'll have a bit of maintenance to do over the years to keep the open water a bit clear. But apart from that, I think it's dead easy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the pond plants are naturally going to create a bit of a sort of a mat of vegetation, or things like the lesser pond sedge might spread a little bit, but it's really nothing. I mean, if you had to spend 2 hours a year maintaining this, you would be unlucky.
During the summer, a bit of scooping algae off the surface. So it's not
so would you say it's
and unsightly.
less effort than mowing a lawn, Steve?
Definitely less effort than mowing.
There you
Definitely. And more fun.
Yes.
More fulfilling. It's just great. Do it.
There's a sales way. So your advice to everybody watching this would be to just build yourself a wildlife pond.
Get yourself a pond.
Yeah.
Build it yourself. Get Joel to do it. Whatever.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, no, thank you, Steve, for that insight. I mean, and there's nothing better, I think, than it coming from the horse's mouth. You're here, you're watching it, like I am with my pond. Like, I feel like it's a part of the family. You're out there, you're checking on it. How's it doing? What's turned up? A little bit obsessive, I think, almost. I am with mine. But they're such a great way of enjoying wildlife close up, aren't they? And
it's like having your own wildlife reserve.
Yes, very much so. And the stuff that's benefiting. There's also a track that we think has been made by a fox or a badger, isn't there? To the edge where they've been coming to drink. So that's really great to see. So again, just the point that they are providing for every form of life you can imagine. Your dragonflies, damselflies, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, birds. So yes, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. And thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you've learned something today. And yes, if you're thinking about making a wildlife pond, just get out there and do it. It's the best thing you can do to help wildlife in your own garden. Anyway, thanks for watching from myself and Steve. Until next time, cheers for now.
Bye.